Isn't it true that all of us at one time or another, we all take people for granted on occasion? And then isn't it also true that the ones we take for granted the most of the time are the ones to whom we are closest? I imagine that as children, we all took our parents for granted, knowing that our lunches would be packed, that there would be food on the table at supper time. But sometimes as adults, we still might take our parents for granted. Oh, they'll be happy to take the kids tonight. Or, I'm sure Grandpa can get them to the basketball game. And what about when parents take their children for granted? Like when you go over to mow their grass or to pick up their meds. Maybe the first time or two they call and ask, but after a while it's just assumed that you will take care of whatever needs taken care of. And you know what? That's okay. Because that's part of what a loving relationship is. When we have guests over for dinner, especially when it's people that we don't see very often, we go out of our way to make them feel welcome and at home. But when it's just us, we don't have to go through all the fuss and all the formalities. We don't have to get out the crystal glasses and the cloth napkins. We can just be ourselves, because our relationship has grown to such a point that we don't have to put on airs or pretend to be something that we're not. And for better or worse, we are loved just for who we are. But that doesn't mean that we don't ever have to show our appreciation for all those things that our loved ones do for us. We have to insert into our routine those special moments in which we acknowledge and thank those we love. We even have created on our calendars a Father's Day and a Mother's Day just for that purpose, to recognize our parents and all the sacrifices they have made for us over the years. But we just can't rely on those 2 days of the year to keep our relationship strong. There are so many different ways we can show our love and our appreciation to one another. They can be as simple as a gift of flowers or a night out at the ballpark. Or they can be as elaborate as a cruise or a week away in some luxurious hotel. But whether simple or elaborate, they are necessary to help that relationship of love to grow and to flourish. And with them, that relationship, and without them, that relationship will suffer and may come to seem more like a relationship of bondage than one of love. And it's the same in our relationship with God. Yes, it's true, we can all say that we take God and all that He does for us at times for granted. And just like in our human relationships, we need to insert into our lives those special moments in which we acknowledge and express our love of God by doing something out of the ordinary, something special. We do that every time we come to Mass to give thanks and praise to God. We have a special opportunity this week coming up to express our love of Jesus in the Eucharist by coming and spending some time with Him in quiet prayer during our 40 hours. We have days to honor Mary, we have days to honor the saints like our St. Anthony Memorial Mass this Thursday. So many opportunities to acknowledge and express our love for God, for Jesus, and for all His saints. But what about that third person of the Trinity, with whom we probably have the most intimate relationship? For it is the Holy Spirit that Jesus sent to dwell within each one of us. It's that Spirit that moves us towards God, that enlivens our hearts to pray and to worship. It's the Spirit within us that calls us to imitate the compassion and the forgiveness of Jesus in our relationship with others. It's the Spirit within us that points our hearts to Mary and to the saints and encourages us to ask for their intercession. It's the Spirit within us, the breath of God, that leads us to heaven. Yet of all the persons of the Trinity, he or she, it probably doesn't make any difference, is probably the one most taken for granted. But I don't think he minds that much. I used to call the Holy Spirit the Nike God. Do you remember those Nike commercials, those tennis shoe commercials that ended up with the words, "Just do it"? Well, the Holy Spirit is the just do it God. He goes around doing his work of sanctification without plan or without fanfare. He works in and through us, allowing God's grace to be brought forth into the world. We honor the saints like St. Anthony for the miracles that they perform. But in truth, these miracles can be performed only through the power of the Holy Spirit. We really can't separate the work of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, for they are one God. But with our limited understanding of what Trinity is, we can call the Father the source of all life and love. We can call Jesus the revelation of God's light and God's love. And we can call the Holy Spirit that energy that brings God's light and love into the world and into our own lives. And that is why this Pentecost Sunday is such an important day on the calendar year of the Church. It's the feast day of the Holy Spirit, that special day we set aside to praise and acknowledge the presence and the power of the Spirit in our lives and in our church. On the first Pentecost Sunday, the Spirit manifested himself as a rushing wind and his tongues of flame. No quiet entry into the world on that day. But his true power is displayed through the words of St. Peter, which could be heard and could be understood by people from all over the ancient world. He is the advocate promised by Jesus to the apostles, and it is in him that Jesus keeps his promise to remain with us until the end of time. So let us make this Pentecost Day a special day in which we give thanks and acknowledgement to the presence and to the power of the Holy Spirit in the world and within our hearts. And let us pray for the grace to keep that awareness of his presence within us alive throughout all the days of our lives. For it is in his power that our relationship with Father and Son will flourish and will grow. And it is his presence and his power within us that will lead us to become one with Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and with all of God's creation.